Hi, it's Colin from Jeeping.Net. Today we're working on our project LJ Rubicon. We got this vehicle as a non-starter. It didn't run when we saw it. Took a bit of a risk, and now we're actually trying to get this thing to run. So we really don't fully know the history of this vehicle. We don't know why it doesn't run. I know the previous owner bought it from someone else, and he ran it a couple times, and then all of a sudden it died on him and never ran again and sat for quite a while. So we're running through the basic diagnostics. Basically what happens is I put the key in, turn it, I get some power, I go to click it, I get nothing. The sound you hear is just the radio CD spinner running up. Fuel pump doesn't turn on, doesn't try to turn over, anything. On the dash, none of the gauges power up other than the temperature sensor right here. And I'm getting the empty fuel, which I've read also can mean a PCM issue. We do get the skim key or skis key coming up, and we do get a check engine light. My ODB2 reader, I've tried 3 of them. None of them will connect to the vehicle. They all attempt to connect, but they won't fully connect. When we go through the diagnostic of the dash, so what's happening now is Dash is doing a self-diagnostic. It basically telling us running software 5.1. It's got bus 60, and bus 61, and open panel. So bus 60 from my memory, that means it's not communicating with the computer, or there's like an issue with the computer, or sorry, an issue with the mill light. 61 means that there's something wrong with the security system, and open panel means that there is a open circuit somewhere in the panel. All the rest of the gauges here seem to test fine. I'm not sure if I should be seeing a test for my 4 low lights and that sort of stuff. They don't seem to come on over the air lockers. I assume that they probably don't. I'm just going to cancel this. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through some of this basic diagnostics here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get it to the starter. From what I can tell, there shouldn't be too much that powers the starter. The starter should be working. If it's a security issue, the starter should still be turning over. Okay, so here we are at the ignition. One of the most common reasons that these don't start is that this ignition piece here goes bad. There's a little cylinder here that can break. There's a little key in there that can break off. So that's the first thing we're going to test. So I've got my test light here grounded. We're just going to test it here. This pin should always be live. It is. Good. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this in here. This is actually going to be hard to do with the camera. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn the ignition, and the light should turn on. Yep, there we go. We're getting the light on. Hopefully you can see that. So that tells me that the ignition's fine. It should still be getting power. Yeah. So this is okay. So this is normally the common problem. This would be probably my easiest thing to fix. So the next thing we're going to test is the starter. Okay, we're here at the engine now. What I've done is I've already tested the starter. The always on power to the starter is fine, so I'm always getting power. The ground's fine. My battery is good. I'm not losing any current from the battery to the terminals. So everything's good there. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look for the fuse here for the starter. So it's this guy here. We're going to pull that guy. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our test light in here. We're going to put the test light on negative and into this terminal right here. So what happens now when I crank, that should send a positive to that guy. So let me just go crank and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's not surprising. We already knew that that circuit was good. That is the ignition that we already tested. But we're just fine now. Know that terminal's good the whole way through. Now we'll test the control. So this should be a ground. So we'll make sure there's no positive coming through. There's no positive. Since this goes to the PCM, I don't really want to send it current. So what we'll do is we'll just test to see if it's grounded. So we'll go in here and we'll just ground out to something else. Yep, so it's not currently grounded, and it should be. Interesting. Turn this off. Now we're going to test for power. So we'll connect our test light back up to our negative. We should be getting power through this pin. Okay, and this next pin here, this is what, the middle pin is what goes down to the starter. So this pin's working. This pin is getting positive. This pin is not grounded in the control. And in older vehicles, that would be connected directly to the clutch relay. I've already tested that, and that is fine. Okay, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to just try to jump the vehicle. So just hold on 1 second here. I'm going to make sure we are safe. Okay, yeah, transmission's in neutral, safety, brakes are on. Everything here should be good. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little jump cable here. We're going to go from our power to, and send it right down to the starter. And this is what this is going to do, is this is going to touch our starter to tell us if our starter is good or not. Okay, so the starter is good. So we're not getting the ground. And that ground should be coming from the PCM here. So I'm not sure what the problem is. So that's the next thing we got to test. I do think there's probably a PCM problem here just because of the other dash lights we have on the thing, or there's a ground problem. Other systems are working. The headlights are getting full power. The fuel pump's not coming on when we turn on the vehicle. So let's put this relay back in there. And let's test the fuel pump here. So the fuel pump, this should be on. Nothing should be there. So we're getting a control there and no ground there, right? Let's see if our fuel pump's grounded. No. Okay, so that's still getting power the right way, so that's all. That's good. But yeah, that's not grounded. I didn't expect that to be grounded. Yeah, so right now, I don't really know what to think, other than there's something wrong with our PCM. I'm going to have to look at the wire diagrams here a little more and get back with you guys, but looking like this could be an expensive problem. Okay, so we're back here under the Jeep. It's been a couple of days now since we've last updated on this video. I've been through quite a few different solutions here. So what we knew was the ignition is fine. It's sending the proper signals to here and the PCM. We found out that the PCM, though, is not sending grounds to the fuel pump, the starter. And we also found out it's not shutting down to the sending ground to the ASD. So we started then looking at the PCM. We checked it's getting proper power, it's getting its proper grounds. It was getting 12.2 volts to here. The battery was at 12.4 volts. I figured that was fine. We then started looking at the outputs, and we were getting very few outputs from this PCM. If I looked at the 5-volt circuit, I was only getting 1 volt at all the sensors. So a lot of people would say that might mean that there's a bad sensor, there's a short there, a short. So I went through and unplugged every sensor, and there was no voltage drop, there was no change in the circuitry at all. So that meant all my sensors are fine. I started then tracing each wire back to the PCM, and they were all fine, perfect continuity and resistance. So what a lot of people online were saying is that probably means there's a bad PCM. Very common in the Cherokees and the Grand Cherokees, actually, that when you lose your 5-volt ground circuit and you're losing your ground circuit, it's probably a bad PCM. So this is a very hard PCM to find. I did manage to find one right here. Got it from a junkyard, actually, and luckily did not pay very much money for it. plopped it in, and I'm getting the exact same scenarios, same dash lights, no grounds. So we know the PCM is probably okay, or there's something else in the circuitry that is killing the PCM as soon as you plug it in. I was really hoping that's not the case. And then I stumbled across something very interesting. The ASD circuit, the automatic shutdown, I don't even know what the D stands for. If I jumped that circuit, everything was fine. The dash came on correctly, 5-volt circuit was 5 volts. I could crank the engine, start the engine, I was able to drive it around the block. Jumping this relay long-term wise is not good because as soon as you jump that relay, the fuel injectors turn on. So it's not a good idea to do. When you first turn on the ignition, it will energize this for about, I think it's 1.8 seconds, just to do a diagnostic. And then it turns itself off until you turn the key to run. And then it energizes this once the car is running. If there's a bad CPS or something like that, or a bad CKS, that will disenergize this, but only after 3 seconds. So this should always be energized when you first turn on the ignition. So that was very confusing as why jumping this relay would send power to the PCM. That made absolutely no sense. So what I started doing is I started kind of going back through everything, looking at the wiring here. And this 2 days ago, I came home, started jumping into it, put the key in, and the vehicle started up completely fine. Relay wasn't jumped, everything was fine. So I took the vehicle for a quick drive around the block, got halfway around the block, and the vehicle was dead, stopped. Same old issue. Jumped the relay, got home. Checked the connector here, and I think it's pin C1, pin 29. I had 0 voltage. So very good. I now know that there is a short somewhere in the electrical. So that pin 29 is actually the same circuit as the ASD. The ASD was getting power, and I was getting power off of fuse 9. So there was something between here and here. So I started following the wiring up here, up through here, and I came back, and all of a sudden I had 11.9 volts at the circuit. So I left the multimeter on it, jiggled the wires, and that voltage went up and down. So there was a short somewhere in the circuitry. So I started unplugging things. I unplugged this connector. I believe this is called C102. I unplugged it, checked from this female side to here, perfect resistance, and perfect resistance. Checked resistance from here to here, and resistance was much higher than it should be. Jiggled the wire, and resistance jumped around like crazy. So, okay, great. The problem is from here to here. And as you can probably see in the video, I've already found out what the problem is. But I started undoing the wire connector, and right away, right here, and I'll zoom in here, right in here, you can see there's a bad short right there. I've probed away at that. It was not that bad originally. But yeah, that's our problem. So now all I need to do is I just need to fix this wire, and I've already temporarily ran a bypass. And when I plug this in up here to the same circuit that the ASD is on, the Jeep starts fine. So that is our only problem, is that stupid wire. So all I'm going to do is right now I'm just going to go jump it from here to here. And eventually I'm going to put a connector in, I think. But for right now, I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to get the Jeep running. I was looking at trying to fix the pin right here. The problem is if I do, well, it's a little hard to do that. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll check back in a few minutes after I'm done some of the soldering job, and hopefully the Jeep will be running by that point. Okay, we've just finished kind of bypassing the connector here. I've left a lot of slack here so I can come back later on and put a connector in. You'll see I soldered this together using a linesman splice and some solder, and then I came back with some dielectric grease and put a cover over it. That should help any future corrosion. So I'm going to zip tie this up out of the way here for now. Got to clean up here, fix all the wire harnesses back up. But I did put new terminals actually on the battery while I was under here. But let's fire it up and see if it works now with no bypasses. Awesome. We got a running Jeep. So it's all fixed. It's all working great. So I'm going to back it out of the garage here. It's freaking cold out, which is why you'll see it took me so long to solder here. But it's probably, I think, minus 15 right now. You can probably tell by my breath. But I'm going to back this out, get it up to operating temperature, let it idle for a while. And yeah, I'm very excited. Huge thanks to a guy on the Jeep forum. Sorry, I forget your name right now. But I'm going to send you a gift certificate for your help here. Just even the moral support that you gave me helped out immensely. So anyway, we'll be back in about a week from now. Next thing we'll be doing fluids on this and just doing a full inspection of the running gear. But yeah, we'll be back in about a week from now. Thank you very much. And I'm so excited we got this running and it didn't end up costing us a fortune. Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys. Like the video. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more of this. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. Okay, have a great day.